my 1995 Camaro, and I'm going to go over everything I had to do to get it to run. When I first got this car, I had no idea of the current condition. I don't know how long it's been since it's last run. It's estimated 2 to 3 years. I don't really know what kind of driving it's gone under. I'm assuming some sort of kid like me that just wants to go fast in it based off of some things I've seen done to this car. I picked up this car for $400 off of Craigslist. I was told it cranks but doesn't start. I found out that's not true. There's wires everywhere. I have flat tires, cracked in the windshield. It's a mess, but this is a project car and I'm determined to work on it. Now this is a 90s GM car. Has the red and black key, one for the doors, trunk, all that. The other one's for the ignition. These keys have given me a hard time. When I first got the car, I accidentally locked the keys inside the car right after handing the guy the money. So my first moments with this car was learning how to break into it. That's pretty cool. I'll always remember that. And then there's that resistor chip on the key. Man, why did they do this VAT system? It's awful. So the first thing I had to do to the car was buy a battery, because I figured everything that was wrong with the car was electrical because of all the wires out. So I bought a battery, put the key in the ignition, turned it, and I got no crank, nothing. I did, however, get a security light on the dash, which took a while to go away, as you'll soon find out. I'll bring you guys down here. Now these are the wires for that chest, the resistor chip on the key and the lock cylinder. I put up the resistor that matches the resistor in my key, and I used the original whatever this bracket thing called, the plug-in, that I used that, hooked it into there, soldered it, and I thought that would bypass VATs, as many people said that does it, but that didn't turn out to fix anything for me. The security light was still on after, and I was left with no progress. After that, I dropped the steering wheel column here. I looked at the ignition switch. It's somewhere back here. I used a multimeter to verify that I'm getting voltage and power through it. So the ignition switch wasn't that bad. There was no burnt terminals, which I was hoping to see, but that was not the issue. And then I took apart the steering wheel thinking that maybe it was the lock cylinder, but I didn't look at the wiring diagram hard enough, because otherwise I would have realized the wires that these connect to are right down here. It's orange sleeve with 2 white ends. That's what measures the resistance on the chip. But I cut these right where I put this resistor. So this lock cylinder is a dead circuit, and I basically took this apart for no reason, and I have not been wanting to put it back together since. In the hatch of this car, there was this fuel pump box. It has 2 fuel pumps in there. Both of them are not designed for this car, and I have no idea why it's in there. The owner that sold it to me told me all I need to do is put this in here and the car should fire right up. Well, obviously this wasn't even made for this car. So that put me back to square one again. I started to spend a lot of time digging at this car's wiring, so I took out all the seats just to give me some more room to lay down inside of here. I read on a forum that another way to bypass the security system is to take this yellow and black wire that comes from the theft deterrent relay and put it to a ground. Now this is just temporary because I need this seat, but I'm gonna get some sort of bracket like a ring like that to put it to a real ground so it's not so sketch. But I also put this one to a ground because I couldn't figure out which way the circuit goes, but now I have a little more experience, and I believe it's going from this I think this is the only one that really matters, the one that comes out of the theft deterrent relay, and this one is just a dead circuit. But it doesn't hurt to have both of them grounded, since might as well not just have an open wire. Now, after bypassing the theft deterrent relay like that, that allowed the car to crank over for the first time. So at this point, the car would crank, but it won't start, and I knew I needed a new fuel pump. So I bought a new fuel pump and put it in, and look at all this sheet metal that's just cut up. That is awful. Now after doing that, I had some fuel leaking out in these lines. So I bought some rubber fuel lines from O'Reilly's and just patched up the holes. And now no more fuel leaks. Also, anyone know what I can do about this? Like maybe just cut out from like here to there and then weld in a new piece. But I don't know how to weld, so that would be a challenge on its own. But when I put the carpet over, you can't even tell that it's all cut up, and no one's gonna get cut through the carpet. So I don't know if I really have to mess with it. It's just, if you pull the carpet apart, it looks ugly. Much better. After doing the fuel lines, the car would crank and then it would backfire while cranking. So I knew there was too much gas getting into the combustion chamber somehow, and I needed to address that problem next. Now I don't know if anyone's ever pulled spark plugs on these cars, but at first they're kind of challenging because there is no room to fit your hand on that one, especially this back one for cylinder number 6. You kind of have to pull on the wire, which is not ideal. And then this one, I know on the V8s it's nearly impossible to reach the back two on this, but it wasn't that bad of a challenge. Just the boots were like corroded to the spark plug at first, so it took a lot of effort to pull out. And these are the old plugs. As you can see, they're black like they were rich. They were all wet when I pulled it out, so the engine was definitely flooded with gas, which explains why the backfire would happen. Now at first I didn't know why there was so much gas getting into the combustion chamber, but then it hit me. I've been cranking this car over without it starting, that the gas hasn't ignited. So I changed the plugs, and as soon as I did that, the car would crank and it'd start. But then it would die right away, and I had to figure out why. So first I took out all the plugs one by one and grounded the spark plug to here with it in the wire to check for spark upon cranking, and they all had spark. So next, I put starter fluid inside the intake while someone else was cranking the car, and it ran until I stopped spraying the starter fluid, and now I knew the problem was fuel related. I'm at the back left side, driver's side of the car. The fuel filter is under here, just under the tire, but this car is so low I can't fit my head under, so I had to jack it up to take apart the fuel filter, and then I blew inside the fuel filter, and if there was any restriction, then it was clogged, but it came out, no problem. So the problem was not the fuel filter, and I moved to the injectors. But before I went to the fuel injectors, there's a little Schrader valve here. I found the cap for it, I just put it back on. But I test the fuel pressure, and the fuel pressure would go to 40 upon turning the fuel pump on, but then it would die really quick. So I had some sort of leak, and I figured it was in the injectors because of the reason the gas was the engine was flooded. The fuel injectors on this car are right under this intake. You can see this is the fuel rail. The fuel pressure regulator is right here. This is the harness for it, and there's the Schrader valve. This is some sort of intake vacuum thing. Over there is the fuel lines. I believe that's the the fuel send into the fuel rail, and then that's the return, I believe. But yeah, this took forever to take out, and let me show you why. Well, first, to take this off, you gotta undo this bolt, pull off this harness. There's another nut down here you undo, and then there's one back here that you undo, and then there's a torque screw that's right here. It's missing because I didn't put it back in, but it's right there. You undo that, and I think it's a T20, and then the fuel pressure, or the fuel rail, will come off. This is that T20 screw that I had such a hard problem with. It was stripped, so I took a chisel and a hammer, beat into the side of it, then I took a breaker bar to finally spin it loose, and then I just used a long flathead to keep hitting at it to turn it. But man, this took forever, and now I'm on the hunt to find a replacement. I'll probably go to a junkyard because my hardware store has one, but it's too long and I don't have some sort of cutter to shorten it. But we'll find out what I do with this later. When I took out the fuel injectors, I noticed one of the O-rings was cracked. Oh, here's one that's messed up. That was enough for gas to get through, but there was another one that was completely destroyed, and I think I threw it out. And then here's the secondary O-rings for the lower half, and this one was cracked and came off, and I couldn't get it out, so I just tossed it. But yeah, I had O-rings cracked, which were letting fuel into cylinder number 4. So I bought new O-rings, put them on, and I cleaned the fuel injectors, and then I put them back into the car. To clean the fuel injectors, I had a couple of these hoses lying around, so I stuck this end right onto the fuel injector. Here's a smaller hose that just happened to fit onto there. I got a hose clamp with, this is like a wire connector, one of those that you just press down to connect wires. So I cut in half, put the little piece inside, put a hose clamp around it, and now it's just big enough for one of these little tubes to fit inside, just snug enough so it won't fall out. But I did use carb cleaner to spray it, and I use alligator clips to hook it up to my battery to power the fuel injector. So the fuel injectors all worked. The cylinder number 1 fuel injector was like a little clogged at first. It took a couple tries for it to shoot out normal, but all the other ones were good, so that's why I didn't replace any of the fuel injectors. So the fuel injectors cleaned with new O-rings still did not fix my problem of why the Camaro was starting and then dying. So I did I just typed it in, 1995 Camaro starts and dies, and I found a forum that I must have missed somehow that it was exactly this car, same reason, and it turned out to still be the security system. So let's look at the security system. So there's a wiring schematic of the security system of this car on Shoebox's website, but basically in the ignition lock cylinder, it reads the resistors on the key. If it gets an OK, the signal goes down. It allows the starter to activate. The theft deterrent relay is what controls whether the starter activates. So bypassing this meant that the starter could activate whether the security said it was okay or not. Doing the resistor chip said it would always be okay. But the next problem is the theft deterrent module, which is way back here behind the airbag bracket, like way in the dash. That is what tells the computer to keep firing the injectors after it starts. Without that OK signal sent to the PCM, the car will die within 3 seconds after starting. And that was exactly what was happening to this car. So I found this little bypass module on eBay. It has 5 wires, and this is exactly what I needed. It bypasses the theft deterrent module. So this is the harness for the theft deterrent module. I just unplugged it and put it out here so I had wires to work with, and I didn't have to slice into the PCM. So the red wire is 12 volts upon ignition. So I took my multimeter, found out this pink wire is hot on the ignition. This black one is a ground, and I hooked it up to this yellow black, which is the same one we grounded out here, which is good that I still have it grounded, even though it's not in the circle for the starter. It allows the ground to be for this module. The white one is the white one is the fuel enable signal that goes to the PCM, and I have this connected to the blue wire, which is the blue wire that goes straight to the PCM. It says whether the injector should fire or not. And on this car, it's a 50 hertz signal. The green is another ground that allows that signal to fire. I have this connected directly to a ground that's way behind me. Another thing like this that I will fix at some point. And then if you have an older car, like 89 or something, you ground this one for a 30 hertz signal, but I don't have one, so at some point I'm just gonna tape this off in electrical tape and call it a day. But all these wires are just wrapped and then covered in electrical tape, except for this one. But I'm gonna eventually solder them all, heat shrink. I'll just do whatever it takes to get them done right. And then the rest of these wires, I don't need to do anything with them. This orange goes to the security lamp. If I cut this, the light will always be on. So I'm gonna leave that. So after doing the theft deterrent module bypass, the car runs and it sounds great. I have to work on getting the interior back together, but man, I can't wait to drive this thing.